Heart stopped the moment little Maya whispered those 3 words. They switched folder. No one in that luxurious penthouse, filled with marble floors, golden chandeliers, and enough wealth to make anyone dizzy, understood how a 9-year-old girl, the daughter of the housekeeper, could have uncovered something that would shake a billionaire's entire fortune. But the most shocking part wasn't what she said. It was what happened after. Maya had always been invisible in that mansion. People noticed the polished silverware, the fresh flowers, the spotless hallways, never the child who quietly helped her mother after school. She was small, attentive, soft-spoken, with deep brown eyes that seemed to absorb every hidden detail adults carelessly left behind. And without knowing it, she was about to disrupt millions in money, an entire empire built on old wealth and even older secrets. The story begins on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the kind of gray day that makes everything feel a little heavier. Maya sat in a corner of the study room, drawing in her notebook while her mother dusted shelves. The billionaire, Ethan Hale, young, handsome, and known everywhere for his impossible fortune, walked in carrying 2 identical leather folders. He placed them on the desk, ran a hand through his hair, and sighed the way only a rich man overwhelmed by richer problems can. "Maya, sweetheart, can you pass me the black folder?" he asked, distracted. She pointed to one of them, but before he could grab it, his phone rang. "I have to take this," he muttered, stepping out of the room. That was the moment she noticed something strange. The 2 folders weren't the same. One had a subtle scratch near the corner. The other didn't. And she remembered with laser-sharp clarity, seeing Mr. Hale earlier that week carrying only the scratched one, the one he guarded like a secret. Before she could think much of it, 2 elegantly dressed relatives slipped into the room. They whispered quickly, too quietly for an adult to catch. But Maya wasn't an adult. She heard every word. "Switch it," one said. "If he reads the real numbers today, we lose everything." Her heart raced. She watched the man open the folders, swap a stack of documents, and leave without noticing her. Her little hands trembled. She didn't fully understand business, but she understood wrong. She understood betrayal. She understood fear. She also understood Ethan Hale was kind to her mother, kinder than any rich employer she'd ever seen. He wasn't perfect, but he treated people with a softness that didn't match his billionaire reputation. And now someone was trying to destroy him. For money. For greed. For inheritance. She didn't know. But she knew she had to warn him. When Ethan returned, she tugged gently on his sleeve. "Mr. Hale," she whispered, voice barely audible. They switched folder. He froze. His expression didn't change, but something in the air did. A quiet tension. A spark of danger. A silent shift as though the entire mansion held its breath. "Maya, who switched what?" he murmured. Before she could answer, heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway, coming fast, coming straight for the study. And that's when everything began to unravel. Who was coming, and what were they trying so desperately to hide? Before we dive deeper into this story, hit the like button and subscribe now. Here you'll find life-changing stories that will keep you inspired every single time. Ethan turned toward the door just as the footsteps grew louder, heavy, rushed, almost panicked. Maya instinctively stepped behind him, gripping the edge of his suit jacket with her tiny fingers. The hallway outside the study flickered with shadows, and for a moment, Ethan wondered if he had imagined her warning. But then the door swung open. It was Daniel Hale, Ethan's older cousin, tall, polished, and always dressed like someone who believed he deserved more of the family fortune than he ever received. His smile appeared too quickly to be real. "Ethan, there you are. We have a meeting soon, don't forget." Ethan didn't move. "Daniel, what's going on?" Daniel's eyes darted briefly toward the folders on the desk, then to Maya. A flicker of recognition crossed his face. Recognition, irritation, then something sharper. "Did she tell you something?" he asked, his tone coated with polite venom. Maya shrank slightly. Ethan subtly stepped in front of her. "She mentioned a switch," Ethan answered calmly, "and now I'm very curious." Daniel gave a light laugh, the kind that tried too hard. Kids imagine things. She probably misunderstood. But Maya shook her head. "I didn't," she whispered. "I saw you." For a moment, Daniel's mask cracked. Barely. But Ethan caught it. He'd always suspected some relatives cared more about his wealth than his well-being, but hearing it from Maya, this small girl who had nothing to gain and everything to fear, sent a cold realization through him. Someone had tampered with the folder he needed for the most important investor meeting of his career. Documents that could affect the entire Hale empire, possibly millions in assets. Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Ethan, don't let a child's imagination disrupt $1 billion decision today." And that was the moment Ethan's expression changed. Because he remembered something, Maya never lied. She was curious, observant, and honest to a fault. Her mother raised her that way. "Maya," Ethan said gently, "show me which folder was switched." She walked to the desk, pointed to the one with the scratch. "This one is yours. The other one is fake." Daniel stiffened. Just for a split second. But it was all the confirmation Ethan needed. Still, he didn't explode. He didn't accuse. Instead, he carefully opened both folders, flipping through pages with the quiet precision of someone used to being surrounded by sharks disguised as family. And page after page, it became painfully clear, the numbers didn't match. Entire sections had been replaced. He looked up. "Daniel, why?" Daniel opened his mouth, maybe to deny, maybe to spin another story, but before he could say a word, a voice echoed down the hallway, "Ethan, the investors are here early." Panic flickered in Daniel's eyes. True panic. Because if Ethan walked into that meeting with the wrong folder, his empire would collapse. But if he walked in with the real one, Daniel's scheme would be exposed to everyone with money, influence, and power. Ethan turned to Maya. "You saved me," he whispered. She shook her head shyly. "I just told the truth." He smiled, a soft, genuine smile, but it vanished the moment another stranger's voice came from outside the door, deeper and urgent. "Mr. Hale, we need to speak now. It's about your family." Who was waiting outside, and what truth were they about to reveal? Ethan exchanged a quick look with Maya before stepping toward the doorway. The voice coming from the hallway carried weight, an urgency that didn't match the polished calm typical of the Hale household. Maya stayed close behind him, her little hand still hooked to the corner of his blazer, as if the fabric itself could protect her. When they stepped out, they found Mr. Lawson, Ethan's longtime financial advisor. A man respected across the world of wealth, known for his rigid honesty and near-obsessive attention to detail. Today, however, he looked unsettled. Almost afraid. "Ethan," Lawson said under his breath, "I need to talk to you privately. It's about your cousin." Daniel stiffened behind them. "Why am I involved in this?" Lawson's eyes cut in his direction, cold, sharp, evaluating. "Because something very serious has come to my attention." Ethan felt Maya's fingers squeeze tighter. She didn't understand everything, but she sensed the pressure rising, the same way a child senses a storm before adults feel the wind shift. "Say it here," Ethan said firmly. "Now." Lawson hesitated. "It concerns the Hale investment account, and several unauthorized movements." Daniel's jaw clenched. "That's ridiculous. You can't accuse me of—" "I'm not accusing yet," Lawson replied calmly. "But today, someone tried to upload a new set of numbers to the server, numbers that would devalue portions of Ethan's fortune, inflate another branch of the family business, and automatically shift decision power to," he paused. Looked directly at Daniel. "To you." Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Even the sound of rain outside seemed to stop. Maya's breath caught in her throat as she looked up at Ethan, waiting for his reaction. But Ethan didn't yell. Didn't rage. He simply stepped closer to Daniel and asked quietly, "Why would you do this to me?" Daniel's face flushed. "I didn't, you don't understand," Lawson interrupted, pulling out a small access log from his tablet. "We traced the attempted upload to a device connected to your private network. And the timing matches exactly when the folders in your study were switched." Maya's eyes widened. She felt herself sinking into the background, but Lawson glanced down and gave her a reassuring nod. He knew she was the key witness, even if the adults had barely noticed her until now. Daniel's breathing quickened. "You think I'm going to let a child ruin my future? My inheritance? Everything I've worked for?" "Enough," Ethan said, his voice steady but commanding. "You were willing to sabotage a multi-million-dollar meeting. For what? More control? More money? More power you didn't earn?" Daniel swallowed hard. "You have everything, Ethan. Everything. The company. The name. The admiration. You were always the golden one. I'm sick of standing in your shadow." The raw jealousy hit the air like static. And suddenly, Maya understood something. Even in a world filled with rich people, hearts could feel painfully empty. Lawson stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Ethan, you need to decide quickly. The investors are waiting. They'll start questioning the missing documents soon." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. The weight of being a billionaire, carrying an empire, facing betrayal, it all pressed down. But then he felt Maya's hand squeeze his again, quietly, like a reminder that not everything in his world was broken. He opened his eyes. "I'll face the investors," he said. "And I'll bring the real folder." But as he turned toward the meeting room, a sudden realization struck him, one that drained the color from his face. "Maya," he whispered, "the real folder. It's not here. Not anymore." Her heart dropped. But it was there a moment ago. Daniel smirked, too quickly. Lawson's voice sharpened. "Where is it?" Daniel shrugged, but his eyes glinted with something dangerous. "Maybe you should ask someone who knows how to hide things." Did Daniel take the real folder, or did someone else move it before anyone noticed? And why? Ethan felt his pulse spike as the room tightened around them. Daniel's smug expression told him one thing: the missing folder wasn't an accident. But what chilled him even more was the possibility that someone else, someone he hadn't suspected, might be involved. Maya looked up at him, frightened but steady, her small voice barely above a breath. "Mr. Hale. I promise it was still on the desk when you came back." He knelt beside her. "I believe you. Completely." His voice was firm, almost protective. Maya exhaled, relieved, but fear still lingered in her eyes. Losing that folder meant the entire meeting could collapse. Investors didn't trust uncertainty, not when millions of dollars, control of assets, and long-term wealth were on the line. Lawson stepped forward, tapping rapidly on his tablet. "If someone took it, they couldn't have gotten far. We can review the security feed from this wing." Ethan nodded. "Do it." Daniel scoffed. "You're wasting time." "The investors will wait," Ethan cut in sharply. "This is bigger than a meeting." For the first time, Daniel's confidence cracked. Lawson swiped through the camera angles, pausing only when the screen showed the study door moments earlier. Everyone leaned closer. The footage displayed Ethan leaving, Daniel pacing, Maya sitting quietly, and then, a flash of movement. A woman. Tall, elegant, wearing a pearl gray dress. She walked into the study with the smooth confidence of someone who belonged there. But Maya recognized her instantly and tugged Ethan's sleeve. "That's her. She comes sometimes to talk with your aunt." Ethan's stomach dropped. Evelyn. Daniel's sister. Lawson zoomed in. Evelyn opened the desk drawer, glanced both ways, and slipped something into her bag. Then she walked out as calmly as she had entered. Maya whispered, She took the folder." Daniel's mouth fell open. "Evelyn? No, she wouldn't. She doesn't care about the business." But Ethan shook his head. "She cares about control. And she hates that I became CEO instead of her father." Lawson's voice hardened. "If she left the wing just minutes ago, she's still in the house." A sudden chime echoed through the hall, one of the mansion's sensor alarms signaling a door opening. Ethan turned toward the sound, realizing exactly where Evelyn was heading. "Lawson," Ethan said, urgency rising, "check the west side exit." Maya followed their gaze. "That's where the garage is. And where the cars are," Ethan finished. "Including the one with access to the private vault." Daniel blanched. "You think she'd actually—" "Yes," Ethan said. "If she gets to that vault before me, she can upload whatever she wants. She could rewrite the numbers, redirect entire accounts, even freeze my authority. No one would question it until it's too late." Lawson looked at him, grave. "If she reaches it first, your billion-dollar empire is finished." For a moment, the world seemed to tilt. Maya felt the weight of the moment settle in her chest, heavier than anything a child should carry. Ethan straightened, resolve hardening in his eyes. "We're going after her," he said. But before they could take even a single step, a voice rang out behind them, soft, trembling, and completely unexpected. "I know where she's going, and how to stop her." They all turned. It was Maya's mother. What did Maya's mother know, And why had she kept it secret until now? Ethan's eyes widened. He hadn't expected this. The woman who spent her days cleaning his mansion, ensuring every surface gleamed and every detail was perfect, now held information that could save, or doom, his empire. He took a deep breath and asked, "Tell me." Maya's mother stepped closer, her voice low but steady. "I saw her take the folder, but I also know where she's heading. She's going for the private vault in the garage. The one with the biometric lock." Ethan's mind raced. The vault was not just any storage, it held access to millions in wealth, sensitive investor contracts, and financial records that controlled the Hale family's empire. If Evelyn got there first, she could manipulate accounts, transfer funds, or even erase Ethan's authority. Everything he'd built, every smart investment, every calculated risk, could vanish with the turn of a key, or in Evelyn's case, a swipe of her access card. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Ethan asked, urgency sharpening his tone. "Every second counts." She shook her head. "I didn't want to get involved. I feared, if anyone knew I was paying attention, she'd notice me too. But when I saw your daughter speak up, I realized we could still stop her." Maya looked up at her mother, eyes wide. "Mom, we can do this, right?" "Yes, sweetheart," Ethan said, putting a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We can." Lawson, already scanning the security system, added, "The garage doors are controlled electronically, but Evelyn's access card can override them. She has a 5-minute head start." Ethan clenched his jaw. He needed a plan. And he needed it fast. "We split up," he ordered. "Maya, you stay with your mother. You're our eyes inside the house. Any change in her path, you tell us immediately. Lawson with me. Daniel, stay back. You're not helping." Daniel bristled, but did not argue. Fear had replaced arrogance in his expression. He understood that if this plan failed, his schemes would be exposed, and his share of the fortune would vanish. Ethan turned toward the garage. The long marble hallway stretched like a runway, shadows falling across walls lined with priceless art. Maya's small voice called after him. "Be careful." He glanced back. Always. The mansion's automatic lights flickered as they approached the garage doors. Evelyn's black sedan was visible from the upper window, engine running, her figure blurred behind the tinted glass. Ethan could feel the tension coil in his chest like a spring ready to snap. Every second mattered. Every movement could determine whether the billionaire would keep control, or lose everything. Maya's mother whispered from behind, "She's not just after the folder, she wants to rewrite history." Ethan's heart pounded. "History, or money?" "Both," she replied. In her mind, control equals power. Power equals riches. And she believes she's entitled. Ethan exhaled slowly. He had faced countless boardroom battles, negotiations, hostile takeovers, but nothing like this. This was personal, intimate, and dangerous in ways money couldn't protect him from. He glanced at Lawson. "Ready?" Lawson nodded. "Let's move." With a final glance back at Maya and her mother, Ethan sprinted down the hall toward the garage. The air felt electric. Every step echoed through the mansion like the heartbeat of the fortune itself. Somewhere ahead, Evelyn was moments away from either securing the folder or undoing all the work that had made Ethan Hale a billionaire. Maya's mother called after them, voice trembling but determined, "Don't underestimate her. She's clever, but you have something she doesn't." "What's that?" Ethan asked over his shoulder. "Truth," she said. "And the courage to do what's right." Ethan and Lawson burst into the garage just as Evelyn's hand hovered over the biometric scanner. Time seemed to stretch, every second echoing with the weight of millions in wealth, contracts worth fortunes, and a family empire teetering on the edge. Ethan's mind raced, a wrong move, and the folder could vanish into her hands, rewritten, duplicated, or worse, hidden forever. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, but Evelyn didn't flinch. She glanced at him, a sly smile playing on her lips, confident that her plan had gone unnoticed until now. "You're too late," she said, voice sharp. This was inevitable. Lawson stepped forward, calculating, trying to intercept without provoking her further. But Ethan didn't hesitate. He ran to the scanner, pressing his hand over the pad, matching the biometric code that had been his since childhood. Evelyn's eyes widened. She hadn't expected him to act so quickly. "Ethan, don't," Lawson began, but Ethan ignored him. The scanner lit green. Evelyn gasped. Ethan pulled the folder from the drawer, clutching it like it was more than paper. It was proof of truth, loyalty, and courage. Maya's warning had led him here. A 9-year-old's observation had saved billions. Evelyn's confident mask faltered. How did?" Maya's mother's words echoed in Ethan's mind. Truth and the courage to do what's right. And he realized something powerful. Money couldn't compete with honesty, diligence, or bravery. Not when someone like Maya was involved. Not when her small voice, barely heard by others, had been loud enough to save an empire. He turned to Evelyn, voice calm but firm. "This folder, it stays here. The investors, the company, everything. It belongs to those who build it with integrity, not fear or greed." His gaze softened. "And maybe it's time we reconsider what really matters." Evelyn's shoulders slumped. She wasn't used to people who could face her schemes without anger, without vengeance. Ethan had done something no one had done before. He had reclaimed control without losing his humanity. It was a lesson even the wealthiest couldn't buy. Meanwhile, Maya peeked from behind Ethan, her small smile tentative. "I helped," she whispered. Ethan crouched beside her. "You didn't just help, Maya. You saved everything. You reminded us that courage and honesty are more valuable than any fortune." He ruffled her hair gently, and for the first time that day, the mansion didn't feel tense or dangerous. It felt alive, warm, hopeful. Lawson exhaled, relieved, glancing between Ethan and the girl who had shifted the tide of a billionaire's world. "I've seen a lot of things in finance," he said, "but I've never seen a child correct a crisis of this magnitude." Maya's mother approached, pride shining in her eyes. "She's brave," she said softly. "And she sees the truth when adults look the other way." Daniel, who had watched silently, felt a sting of realization. He had gambled with greed, assuming everyone would bow to his ambition. But today, he learned that riches without conscience are fragile, fleeting, and meaningless. Ethan turned back to Maya. "Remember this moment," he said. "No matter how small you feel, your voice can change the course of history. Even in a world filled with money, influence, and power, what you do with honesty matters the most." Maya's eyes glistened. She had saved more than a folder. She had saved a legacy built on more than just money, a legacy built on integrity, care, and courage. And in that moment, the mansion didn't feel like a fortress of gold. It felt like a home where truth could still triumph. Though the folder is safe, will the revelations of betrayal and greed within the family reshape the future of the Hale Empire, and who will rise to claim what's truly theirs? The tension didn't fully dissolve with the folder back in Ethan's hands. The mansion, still echoing with the storm outside, felt alive with unspoken questions. Daniel's smirk had vanished, replaced by a quiet, simmering resentment. Evelyn, meanwhile, retreated to her room, her mind spinning, not just from defeat, but from the realization that she had underestimated a 9-year-old child and a billionaire who valued integrity over wealth. Ethan turned to Lawson. "We need to secure everything. Every investor, every document, every account. This family's fortune is too fragile if it relies on trust alone." Lawson nodded. "I'll review every transaction tonight. We'll track all anomalies and reinforce security protocols. But, Ethan, you should know, whoever tried this once could try again." Maya, still holding her mother's hand, looked up at Ethan with wide, curious eyes. "Will they come back?" she asked. Ethan crouched down to her level, his blue eyes meeting hers. "Maybe. But today, you taught me something very important. Courage doesn't depend on size or money. It depends on the heart." Her small smile broke the tension, and in that moment, Ethan realized how rare it was to meet someone so young who could see clearly through deception and greed. Maya wasn't just observant, she was wise beyond her years. And her presence reminded him that wealth, no matter how vast, meant nothing without integrity. Later that evening, Ethan called an emergency meeting with his closest advisors. Daniel and Evelyn were notably absent, each processing their defeat privately. Ethan laid out a strategy not just to protect his fortune, but to transform the family dynamic. "This isn't just about money anymore," he said. "It's about accountability, honesty, and teaching the next generation, like Maya, that even the smallest voice matters." Lawson presented the security logs, highlighting the attempted manipulations and showing how quickly Ethan's quick thinking, paired with Maya's sharp eyes, had prevented disaster. Without her, Lawson admitted, we could have lost millions. Literally, billions in some sectors. Ethan nodded, a mixture of gratitude and pride swelling in his chest. He realized something crucial. Wealth was powerful, yes, but courage, observation, and loyalty were far more valuable. That night, after everyone left the boardroom, Ethan found Maya in the study, quietly drawing again. He knelt beside her, careful not to startle her. Maya, he said gently, do you know how many billionaires would kill to have someone like you notice what you just did? She shook her head. No. I just saw something wrong. And I told the truth. That's the most important part, Ethan replied. Truth. And bravery. That's worth more than any million-dollar deal. Maya's mother watched from the doorway, her eyes glistening with pride. Ethan extended his hand to Maya, not as a billionaire to a child, but as someone who deeply respected her. How about we make sure this mansion always listens to brave hearts like yours? Maya's grin was small but victorious. She took his hand, and for a brief moment, the mansion's grandeur faded into the background. What mattered wasn't the golden chandeliers or the luxurious marble floors. It was courage, honesty, and the quiet heroism of a little girl who refused to stay invisible. And as Ethan watched her, he knew one thing for certain: Maya had changed more than just the day. She had changed the way he would view wealth, family, and responsibility forever. Even with the immediate danger past, could Daniel and Evelyn truly be trusted? And would Maya's quiet courage continue to shape the fate of the Hale Empire? The mansion had fallen silent. Rain still pattered against the windows, but inside, the tension had shifted to something lighter: hope, relief, and quiet triumph. Maya sat on the study floor, her drawings scattered around her, while Ethan leaned against the desk, watching her with a mix of awe and gratitude. In that moment, he realized that a 9-year-old girl had taught him a lesson no boardroom could: true courage is priceless. Ethan turned to her. Maya, today you proved that even the smallest voice can stop greed, protect truth, and save millions. Do you understand how important that is? She nodded, shy but proud. I just wanted to help. He smiled. Helping like this, that's what makes someone richer than any billionaire. You've got something no money can buy: integrity and bravery. Maya's mother approached, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. You made a difference, sweetheart. You reminded everyone here that honesty is worth more than any fortune. Even Daniel and Evelyn, who had been forced to reflect on their actions, couldn't escape the truth of her courage. That quiet, observant little girl had exposed greed, safeguarded billions, and reminded them all that money without conscience was meaningless. Ethan knelt to Maya's level 1 last time. Remember this day. No matter how rich or powerful someone becomes, the choices they make, and the courage they show, define them far more than money ever could. Maya beamed. I'll remember. As the storm outside faded, a golden light spilled into the study, casting warmth across the marble floors and glinting off the chandeliers. The mansion no longer felt like a fortress of wealth. It felt like a home shaped by truth, courage, and unexpected heroes. And in that quiet, powerful moment, Ethan realized that the greatest riches weren't in the folders, the accounts, or the fortune he had amassed. They were in the hearts of those brave enough to do what was right. The story of a little girl's whisper had changed everything, proving that sometimes, the smallest voice carries the greatest power. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. Here's another story waiting for you. I'm sure it will change the way you see the world. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.